Welcome to Oddball. I'm Charlotte Wilder. That's Amin Elhassan struggling to zip up his hoodie. He did it. We have a great show for you guys. Yeah, we have a great show for you guys today. We're going to go into the future in a little bit, but for now, we're going to stay right here. I'm in New York City. New York City might explode from the joy that this Knicks team has given them. The Knicks came back last night and beat the Pacers. And I mean, I think the only place we can start with this is to talk about Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, no. So this is the stuff that mythology is built on, right? You know, one of the most famous moments in Knicks history is Willis Reed gets hurt in Game 6. They lose. They go back to New York for Game 7. He's not supposed to play. And then after the players all warming up, Willis Reed walks out the tunnel, and the Garden crowd rises to his feet, gives a standing ovation. He hits the first two shots of the game, and the Knicks go on to win Game 7 and win the championship. My favorite thing about that story is, do you know how many points Willis Reed scored in that game, Charlotte?
No, how many?
Those were the only 2 baskets he made.
No way.
Yeah. But like to have the mythology tell it, you would think this dude scored 40 or whatever. Actually, it was like Walt Clyde Frazier, who had a ridiculous all-time Game 7 stat line. But the reality is, where the Knicks go from here, we don't know. But I know everyone's going to remember the Jalen Brunson game where he got hurt, he left, he missed the entire second quarter. The team was minus 17 without him. They go down 10. He comes back. He gives it a go in warm-ups. Before the second half, he tells Tibbs, I'm ready to go. And then he proceeds to obliterate the Pacers in the second half, not only with his play, but also, Charlotte, a rare show of emotion from Jalen Brunson, letting TJ McConnell know you can't get under my skin.
Yes, TJ McConnell was a pest in a good sense in terms of like that is what you were supposed to do when you're playing good defense. And you know, he hasn't been known for his offense, but he was hitting stuff. And Rick Carlisle took him out of the game, and then Jalen Brunson went on to just destroy everybody because Andrew Nembhard couldn't guard Jalen Brunson. Also, quick aside, I mean, whenever I say Andrew Nembhard, because it's Nemb, I want to be like, Andrew Nembhard, like I have a cold. I'm sitting at home being like, oh, Nembhard's in the game. Like, I can't talk about it without sounding like I have severe congestion. So anyway, he could guard Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, no, and Aaron Nesmith couldn't hit shots. And so I was surprised, very surprised, to see TJ McConnell not come back in the game as the Knicks are pulling away. But again, I'll be honest, I don't think TJ McConnell would have changed the course of history last night the way they were playing. Dante DiVincenzo hitting big shots. The offensive rebounding of Precious Achiuwa, who's in there because OG Anunoby's hurt. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson is done for the series, perhaps the entire playoffs. OG Anunoby strains his hamstring. And we're like, okay, Precious Achiuwa, next man up. And he grabs offensive rebound after offensive rebound, keeping those possessions alive, breaking the very spirit and the will of the Pacers. It was just, like I said, it's goosebumps. It was a playoff game that you will remember for the rest of your life.
Watching Game 2 of Knicks Pacers, I have to be honest, I got emotional at the end when it was Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson standing at the logo, the three of them, and Josh is, saying to the crowd, be louder. It felt, it was biblical. Like you talk about mythology, there was something spiritual about that. The Knicks are playing like 4 guys on one leg each and beating a mostly healthy Pacers team. And Josh Hart has brought so much to this team to the point where he interrupted Reggie. He interrupted the broadcast. Reggie Miller.
He didn't interrupt the broadcast. What happened first was the crowd drunk off of euphoria.
Yes.
There's no other way to describe it. These people were completely inebriated, not off of alcohol, not off of any mortal concoction, but off of just the intoxicating aromas of success. They start chanting, "F you, Reggie," because Reggie Miller stole the game.
Yes, of course, to Reggie Miller, who beat the Knicks when he was on the Pacers. And our friends, our dear friends, Dan Le Batard and Stu Gatz, had something to say about that this morning.
What a compliment that you can't shut up about his 9 seconds from 30 years ago. The dude's almost 60. The dude's almost 60, and a whole arena is chanting about how bad he made them feel 30 years ago.
He's not even the best basketball player in his own family.
Hard to argue with, Cheryl Miller. Yeah. But before we go on, I mean, I would like to just show everybody what actually happened. Can we roll the tape?
What happened?
Of what happened on the broadcast with Josh and Reggie.
Got it.
Yeah. And those are my boys. Hey, I think they're saying "f you." Oh, haha. I cannot believe that we could air that footage. Usually you can't show stuff from games, but here at Oddball, we find a way. I loved it. I mean, and I think that Stu speaks for most New York fans because my husband, who is a Knicks fan, as we've established by now, watching that game with him, with Reggie Miller calling the game, there was a lot of Reggie in my house, and there was nobody else there to hear it.
It's funny because how often do you pay attention to who's calling the game? Stan Van Gundy had a line where they were talking about the 8 points in 9 seconds, and Stan Van Gundy said, I had a similar stretch in college where I scored 8 points in 9 games. I was on a heater, and I thought that was funny, but for the most part, especially when the games are as compelling as the Knicks, all the Knicks playoff games have really been, I tend to tune out who the announcers are, Charlotte. Like, my brain is just filtering it into information. They're saying OG strained his hamstring. They're saying Brunson might be coming back. They're saying Rick Carlisle got ejected. That's how I'm absorbing. I'm not absorbing it like, with this bias. I just don't understand how fans really, really seem to lock in on who's calling the game.
I think it's because it's a pretty intimate relationship. Because when it's your team and you care so much and you are hearing someone narrate what you are seeing, if anything doesn't feel right or if anything feels like it differs from what you would say, especially if you've got Reggie Miller used to be public enemy number one for a moment there in New York. He even said before the broadcast, I own this city, I own this building. I mean, if that doesn't rile fans up who then have to sit there and listen to him, I don't know what would.
It's like Paul Pierce. He's like Paul Pierce in that way. It's like he never gets tired of wearing the black hat. And I, for one, I'm happy for it. I think it made everything more interesting. How did you feel about Spike Lee taking pictures with Reggie Miller after the game? Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. How did Tyler, your husband, feel about Spike Lee taking pictures with Reggie before the game, holding up framed back pages from the New York Post and New York Daily News of the day after the infamous 8 points in 9 seconds?
I think the exact quote, Amin, was, get him out of here. Why is Reggie in the building? Why is he in here? What are we doing?
What about Spike? Spike didn't get any vitriol?
No, Spike is sort of untouchable in my household, to be honest. Spike is held in very high regard to the point where it was anything that Spike might have done wrong was just channeled right back to Reggie. But I want to get back to Josh Hart for a second because he played all 48 minutes in game 2. He has averaged 48.2 minutes per game over the last 5 games. He has played 4 games in a row now where he has played every minute of this game. It's sort of terrifying in a way because, the Knicks have so few guys that they are just using everybody they have to the extent that they can, which, I don't know if Anunoby's hamstring injury is a result of he didn't really get bumped or anything. Like he jumped, but like he's playing a lot. It feels like the wheels are coming off a little bit.
He's also someone who's been injury prone for most of his career. Indeed, he got drafted on a torn ACL. So it's not like this is, the most solid dude in the world falling apart before our eyes, but the Josh Hart stat reminds me of the most unbreakable stat in NBA history. And no, it's not the Wilt 100-point game. It's Wilt once averaged 48 and a half minutes a game for an entire season.
What?
There's 48 minutes in a game. He averaged 48 and a half because I think they went to like 6 overtimes or something like that. and played every single minute.
That's like what everything that we're talking about, every stat we're talking about, every record we're talking about that the Knicks are approaching or breaking is the stuff of legend. This is the myth making happening in front of our eyes because the things we're talking about are already myths. And like Wilt Chamberlain is mythical in this league, and we're talking about him when we talk about these Knicks. And I think my feeling about these injuries, and the way things happened last night felt like a miracle that Brunson came back, that they won. I feel like this gives the Knicks a graceful out in some ways because so many of their guys are injured that it's almost like they're just playing in the bonus now. They're playing with house money. They were not supposed to get here, according to most people, in the first place, let alone get here without many of their star players, let alone without many of their players. Like, it's not even about stars at this point. It's just like, they have what they have left. And I think whatever happens, like if they make it to the next round and get swept by the Celtics, like Knicks fans are just going to be like, well, next year, because this was a gift from God.
Right. So to recap, they're missing Julius Randle. They're missing Mitchell Robinson. They're missing Bojan Bogdanovic. They've missed Brunson for parts of a game, right? They missed OG Anunoby for the rest of the game and perhaps more. That's a lot of adversity. Like, how many people were the Pacers missing, by the way?
One, Benedict Mathurin, I believe.
Yeah,
Mathurin.
Yep.
See, I don't even know how to say his name.
Because it's got math in it. That's why.
Oh, right.
Benedict Poetry, and you would be like, oh, I know how to say his name.
Yeah, I would have nailed that. And
Benedict
yet,
Histrion.
Benedict
Arnold
Cumberbatch. Sorry. Anyway, so the Pacers, though, even though they're not missing many guys and they have been able to go to their bench, even though they then didn't use the bench guys who were working for them, but whatever, they submitted, 78 calls from game one and game two that they felt the refs got incorrect. 29 in game one, 49 in game two. In the post-game presser, Rick Carlisle said, we identified these 29 calls from game one, didn't submit them because we figured it's the playoffs, like they'll course correct in the next game. Yeah. He said they were going to submit and the Knicks could see everyone they submitted. This seems like a very lame thing to do when you are losing to a team that has 1.5 people. Yeah. Is there any validity to what Carlisle is saying? Because I find it a really interesting choice to die on this hill about the refs in this particular series.
Yeah, it does smack of a Daryl Morey-esque level of corniness, right? We used to joke that the Houston Rockets led the league in memos to the league. It's just, but like the problem is, you could do this to every NBA game. Every NBA game has a bunch of calls that are like, that was a missed call or it was called incorrectly or whatever. And you could do it both ways. For the most part, like the refs usually are pretty balanced. They'll mess up calls, but they mess them up both ways. It's very rare you see one team kind of getting a benefit of a quick whistle and the other team not. The Pacers were up 10, Charlotte. As you mentioned, against a hobbled team. They're the ones who came out flat in the third quarter. They're the ones who couldn't keep the Knicks off the offensive glass, off the offensive glass. They were complicit in their collapse. And I didn't see officiating. Now, game one, I could say like, that Miles Turner moving screen seemed kind of horrible, right?
And they missed the Nembhard kicked ball.
Yeah. Like these are crucial calls. I like even the non-call reversed call, right? Like Isaiah Hartenstein, double dribble. Wait a second. On second thought, no, it wasn't. Do we need to review it? No. I can see how that can be frustrating, for sure. But 78 calls, it just seems excessive.
It also seems like you lose any public opinion on your side when you do it that way. Like
I don't.
But not for the Indiana not for Indiana. Like people in Indiana are going to be like, cool, go to bat for us. I think especially because Josh Hart did push Tyrese in the back and that was not called. That seems to have been what set everybody off because Tyrese has had a bad back. But I think that in this case, there's also a little bit of Rick Carlisle mentioned. He was like, well, it's a small market. We're a small market team who deserves a chance.
That's where he loses me. Before we get into small market teams, though, I just want to point out, it's funny, Shaq after the game said, "Oh, I remember one time I complained about calls. And my dad called me and said, 'Hey man, just be better.' And Rick Carlisle needs to stop complaining and just be better." And I'm glad Kenny Smith called out and said, "I remember Phil Jackson complaining about calls a lot." Right? Like,
yes.
and that's a reality. It's like this is a tried and true methodology in the NBA. Now, 79, like to get to the specifics and all that, I think that the part where you send in the memo is where it gets a little corny. But the corniest of them all is small market teams deserve a chance too. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sure OKC is really drowning right now as they played the Dallas
and
Mavericks,
the Timberwolves.
Minnesota. Yeah. Oh my gosh. As they beat the mighty Nuggets, those big city Nuggets, like, shut up, man. Just shut up.
Yeah.
Anyone who talks about market size, you've already lost me.
Yes. I also think it's funny that Shaq mentioned his dad calling him, because when Brunson got really pissed at TJ McConnell, Rick Brunson stood up on the bench and was like, "Zip it. Cut it out, son." And I was like, wow, if you have a good relationship with your dad, there's something to be said for having him right there. I mean.
Yeah, no, I always think that's kind of weird. There's a weird dynamic that your dad isn't the head coach. He's one of the assistant coaches, which means he gets to shit on you extra hard. Like, people think, oh, like the head coach has authority. No. The assistant coach can get to say some crazy shit that you can't really say back to you. I wonder if he's got the same situation that Klay Thompson had early on in his career, which was his dad gave him allowance. Like, he was getting paid an NBA salary. That went to his mom and dad, who then paid Klay Thompson allowance. Yep.
My God.
I believe Mo Wagner and Franz Wagner are roommates. And but one of them is on the mortgage. The other one pays the other one rent.
This is the stuff that I need to know and I love. And coming back, we're going to have some stuff you need to know that you will love, because it is time to play Time Traveling. Welcome back to Oddball. Charlotte Wilder, Amin Elhassan, but you already know that because we already did the intro. But anyway, here we go. We're playing a game called Time Traveler, where we are presented with a headline from the future, and we have to fill in the gap. So first up, let's see what we've got.
All right. I don't have my time traveling glasses, but...
Oh, that's okay. I do. I can see the future. Blank will win the Mavs versus Thunder series in blank number of games.
That's not... See, guys, if we're doing headlines from the future, it got to be a headline from the future. It'll be blank won the Mavs Thunder series in blank games. Amazing, right? Like, because look at back, right? So...
Wow.
I will say Mavs win Mavs Thunder in 6 games.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy what happened. I just came back from the future. And Luka, after struggling in game 1, he comes back game 2. He has a monster performance that makes everybody say, wait a second. And then games 3 and 4, they split it, right? Like OKC says, hey, we lost home court advantage. They win it right back in game 3. But then Dallas comes back with a strong game 4. And then game 5 it goes down to the wire and Kyrie hits a game winner. And that's how they win game 5. And then game 6, Kyrie is the one that has the huge game. And mind you, yesterday we had a segment where we had to bet whether someone was going to break Michael Jordan's playoff scoring record. It's Kyrie Irving in game 6, sending the Mavs to the conference finals. It was an amazing series.
Weird.
Charlotte. You should have watched it.
This must be like a split stream future thing, because I also went to the future, Amin, and I actually saw the opposite. I saw that the Thunder beat the Mavs in 6 games.
Man.
Yeah,
Multiverse?
you should have seen it. No, yeah, you should have seen it. Shai just absolutely went off. Chet was blocking everything left and right. The Jalen Williamses were just cooking. It was a beautiful thing. Lou Dort had a really great game 5. So
I like you know what? I like your answer better.
Thank you.
All right. Challenge
Lou
accepted.
Dort's going to cook everyone in game 5.
Challenge accepted. Here we go. Second headline. All right. So Jokic and Murray, of course, struggled really mightily in the first 2 games of Nuggets versus Wolves. But in game 3 and 4, Jokic and Murray responded, Charlotte, by blank.
Oh, okay. They responded by... Well, I'm so tempted to say getting swept. Do it, you
coward. Do it, you coward.
Okay. The Jokic and Murray will respond by getting swept in Minnesota.
Wow. wow, I'm going to be at game 4. I was at game 4. Wait, you know what? I was at game 4 and it didn't happen, Charlotte. You know what happened? Jamal Murray flies closer to the sun, this time throwing an entire Gatorade cooler onto the floor in game 3, and then looking at where Adam Silver is sitting in the crowd, grabbing his nuts and say, do something about it. Adam Silver, meanwhile, turns and looks away and says, oh, did you hear that Jokic likes harness racing? And as a result, with all this confusion, Jamal Murray and Jokic tie the series up in game 4 in Minnesota. We're headed back to Denver with a tied series. It's incredible.
And Murray didn't get suspended?
Nope, he didn't. Because you know what?
Wow. What?
Soft league, that's why.
Yeah, no teeth. No teeth.
No teeth.
Okay. So Anthony Edwards has generated, at this point, over 100 million views across NBA digital platforms. Hard to say. Since the start of the playoffs. That is second only to LeBron. I don't know if that's just like LeBron in general or LeBron and...
Well, since the start of the playoffs, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. LeBron commands everything, even when he's not in them. So the headline is Anthony Edwards' stardom status will reach blank level or has reached blank level. What do you think?
I will say, first of all, coming from the future, our lawyers in the future say, hey, good job of fitting in those contractually obligated LeBron mentions every day in the show. Well done, Charlotte. And nice, then thanks. I will say that, what USA Today or whatever says in the future, shout out to Back to the Future too, is that Anthony Edwards' stardom status will reach Ronaldo levels, right? Ronaldo levels, the most handsome athlete in the world, the most popular athlete in the world, perhaps not the best athlete in the world, but that doesn't matter. Anthony Edwards has it all. He's got the charm. He's got the game. He's got a 2 games to 2 tied series going to game 5 because I just told you that from the future. Like they don't sweep them.
Well, I think he swept them, but okay.
Well, Ronaldo levels is my answer. What do you got?
I have big market levels here. I think Anthony Edwards' stardom status will reach big market levels because I feel like people forget he's playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like nobody cared about the Minnesota Timberwolves at the start of the season, even though they knew Anthony Edwards was on the team. Now people are like, I haven't seen a lot of hand wringing. I haven't seen people be like, oh God, what if it's Wolves Thunder? It's like, oh cool. What if it's Wolves? What if it's Anthony Edwards versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
You're saying cool. I'm telling you, the league office is shitting bricks at the thought that it might Cavs, Pacers in one conference final and Wolves Thunder in the other.
It won't be
bricks.
It won't be that. It won't be that. But if it is Wolves Thunder, I think that the stardom is going to have a better, I think people are still going to be interested.
Charlotte, I'm old enough to remember Spurs Pistons in the finals. It was a great series. Also, 3 people watched it.
Okay. Well,
all right. What do we got next? We got
ever the optimist over here. Yeah. Sorry for having hope.
The Cavs won blank games in their series against the Celtics. Charlotte, how many games did they win from the future?
I could say swept again, but I think they're going to win one. I think that the Cavs might find a way to get one game off of the Celtics because the Celtics have been known to occasionally have these little blips in the space-time continuum, speaking of the future, where they forget who and where they are.
Charlotte, it's weird. You and I went to the same future this time because I, too, saw a reality where the Cavs won a single game and I know I told you in the future that Kyrie Irving broke Michael Jordan's record in Game 6 against the Thunder to go to the conference finals. What I left out was that he actually broke more than Michael Jordan's record. He broke Donovan Mitchell's record that he set in Game 3 of the series against the Celtics. But then his hold on that record lasted preciously short because Kyrie Irving comes back, as I said, in Game 6 and gets it done.
Wow. Well, I like time traveling with you, Amin. I feel like there's some like alternate universe stuff going on here, but Oddball has always existed in the multiverse. We are actually still in Las Vegas at Summer League from last year. I was about to say, we're about to go into the past and like put on some different clothes and then do this all over again. Yeah. I forgot. All right, cool. Well, Thank you, everybody. It's been a while since I've thanked you properly for watching Oddball, for watching these segments. Yeah, you can never let too much time go by. Good night and good luck.